Hey guys, hey, it's Bob. I got another old bike. Thought I'd show it to you guys. Today we're doing some cleaning up, as a matter of fact, and here's that Bultaco that we were looking at a couple days ago. I did a little video on it already. It's a 69. Excuse me while I adjust this camera here. But anyway, it's a 69. Bultaco 250, I believe. We've already done a video on it, but it's in great shape. It's all original pretty much, except for the Preston Petty fender on it, and maybe the back fender needs to be replaced. I do have some parts that the owner gave me that we'll be trying to put it back together. But anyway, that's that. But the new bike, the different bike, is also a 1969. It's a Harley-Davidson Sprint. It's a very rare bike. Give you a little history lesson on Harley. Of course, you know, they've been around, I guess they are the oldest, I guess, American manufacturer of motorcycles. But anyway, so in the 60s, the late 59, 60, the Japanese were starting to take over the marketplace. And by the end of the decade, by the end of 1960, they were really taking over the decade. So Harley-Davidson was trying to produce these small bikes and stuff. They had some 125s, 250s that they were trying to compete with, because you had all the Europeans with their little bikes and stuff like that. They're also coming over. But the Japanese were just starting to kill everybody. And they came up with this bike. I think they started it in 1960, starting to make this bike. It's called a Sprint, Harley-Davidson Sprint. Started out as a 250. This is a 350 version. I think 69 was the first year for that. And they tried to compete with, but they couldn't. And I was reading an article on this bike last night, and they said it was a lightweight four-stroke motorcycle. Well, if this is their definition in the 60s of a lightweight, no wonder the Japanese were killing them with their two-strokes and everything else. But anyway, just a couple nice things about this bike. One, of course, like a lot of those 60 bikes, this was made in Italy. Harley had bought, and I can never pronounce the name. I always want to say Arrivederci, but that's not the name of the company. But they bought an Italian manufacturer and just sourced them and put their name on the bike. So this is one of those versions. They had other ones. They had a little Baja in the 70s. They had another one. I've forgotten what the name of that one is. But they had some small bikes and that sort of thing. Part of the problem was that the Harley crowd, of course, the Harley crowd back in those days were the Hells Angels, the bad boys of motorcycling, okay? But they wanted nothing to do with this thing. But Harley-Davidson sales were falling like crazy because nobody wanted to be associated with that particular lifestyle. So Harley was trying to do the right thing, I guess, and come out with some different models and stuff like that. But they were in serious financial trouble when this bike came out, when they started producing this bike. And by the end of the decade, they were in horrible financial problems. So anyway, this is one of the bikes. I think in 72, Harley sold this to AMF. That's the bowling ball maker, or they make bowling alley things and all the stuff that goes in bowling alleys, as well as bowling balls and all that other stuff. Why they bought Harley is beyond me. It wasn't in their skill set at all. But anyway, they did. But that was in like right 70 or 71, somewhere in there. They bought Harley, and they kept producing this, trying to make a go of these small bikes. But by the end of the decade, 1970s, they had sold I think they sold this off and sold it to Cagiva. And I'm not sure when, I believe early 80s, some of the management team bought Harley-Davidson from AMF. And like I say, the rest is history after that. And they went back to producing Harleys and trying to get away from that image that they had portrayed back in the 50s and 60s. Honda, their first motorcycles they came out with, their ads said, you meet the nicest people on a Honda. It's complete opposite from what Harley was trying, or not what Harley was trying to promote, but what the image of Harley was. So anyway, this is a 1969 Sprint. It's like all the European bikes then, had left side kick, a left side foot pedal, brake system, and then on the other side, of course, the shift lever was on the right side. And this particular model, and then maybe all of them were, but this one is neutral's at the bottom, and then you shift up from there, and I believe it's 4 speeds, I believe. The bike itself is in good shape. It's been repainted, you can tell that, but still, even the seat and stuff like that's in good shape. It needs some work, okay? The rims have some chrome rust on, or some rust on the chrome, and but otherwise, it's in pretty decent shape. And so I'm looking forward to trying to finish this up a little bit. I'm looking now for rims and stuff, how to fix that up. But anyway, this is where we are with the bike. And if you want to take a look at it, come on by the museum sometime. While I'm at it, just to show you one other bike. Well, I'll show you a couple of them. Probably nobody here has seen this one very often. It's called a Cannondale. It's way ahead of its time. It came out in the early 2000s, 2003. Am I right on that? Yeah, 2003, 4, somewhere in there. And way ahead of its time. They kind of copied Honda's frame geometry with that big aluminum spar in the back, but the rest of it was way different from anything. For instance, the engine itself is backwards in the frame, like the new Yamahas are. The exhaust comes out the back. The intake was on the front. It had electric start, and it was also fuel injected. So none of that stuff was going on in the early 2000s. Harley is a Cannondale. I actually have 2 of them. The other one, this one, ran for a little bit. I got an interesting story on it, but I'm not going to bore you with it today. And it's got super low time on it, maybe an hour on it. And the other one I have was actually a flat track bike, but it's in good shape too. We've got to get it out of the Connex in the back where it is, but I'm probably the only person in America that has 2 of these things. This Bultaco, I bought this Bultaco just to do some vintage racing, that sort of thing. Of course, white wasn't the normal color for Bultacos. They were either blue or red, I believe, or yellow maybe, but I never saw a white one. This one, a guy set up, he lived out in Colorado, and he set it up with the white plastic and that kind of stuff. I think it's a super attractive bike, by the way. I raced Bultacos all through the 70s. I have a bunch of them in various stages of repair or non-repair. But this is a nice one. It runs and everything. It's just good to go. Just never did any vintage racing on it. And then the last one, we just dug this one out the other day. This is a Husky 390, mid-80s, I believe. I believe it's mid-80s. It still had drum brakes on it. I'd have to go look it up. We just dug it out. I wanted to get it out of the Connex because it wasn't air conditioned and stuff like that. No management there of the conditions. So it's got some rust on it now, like the pipe's rusted now. It needs a little bit of work, but as you can see, it's a pretty nice bike. Seats come apart a little bit and stuff like that. But it's a nice bike, but man, I could never ride the thing because it's so tall. It was, even for that era, it was a tall bike. And kickstart is on the left again, and I just never could come to terms with how tall it was and kickstarting the thing. So anyway, that's what's new going on here. You're welcome to come by and take a look at the bike sometime, and we'll go from there. Thanks for looking.